Good morning, Kasturians. So, today we are going to discuss this topic moving coil galvanometer from chapter moving charges and magnetism. So, as we till now we already know about currents and voltages flowing through the circuit. As we about this currents and voltages, it was already discussed in your previous chapter, that was current and electricity. But as as we know that how much current we are getting through a particular voltage, but if we want to know that if we want to know a proof, like how can we claim that the current flowing through the circuit is having a particular value, or the how can we claim that this is a particular value of voltage flowing through the circuit. We already know about how to find current and voltages, but now we want a proof that how this much amount of particular current is flowing through the circuit. So for this purpose we have a device called moving coil galvanometer. So, galvanometer, it is a device that is used to detect current flowing through a circuit. Why is this device named so, like moving coil galvanometer? This device is named so because it uses a current carrying coil which rotates when when a uniform magnetic field it is applied through this applied through this coil. So we can say that when magnetic field is applied through this coil, what happens that a torque is generated through this coil, and due to the generation of torque this coil rotates. So this is basically the principle of moving coil galvanometer. This is how this device looks like. So let me discuss how this device is constructed. So first of all, let us see that this device consists of many turns in the coil. Like we are seeing, this is the coil and this is having many turns. And as we can see from the figure itself, that due to this coil having large number of turns, this coil it is free to rotate about a fixed axis. And we can see as we can see that on this left side we are having north pole and this is south pole. It is not, these are the permanent magnets, and these magnets they are provided due to the presence of magnetic field. See, we in this experiment we need a uniform magnetic field. So to provide uniform magnetic field, it is very obvious that we need magnets or some source to provide a uniform magnetic field. So in this experiment we are using this permanent magnets for the magnetic field. We are also having a cylindrical soft iron core. As you can see, this is nothing but a cylindrical soft iron core. Why we are having this iron core? This core we are having because this core helps us in providing a radical magnetic field, and it also helps us to make a very high strength of the magnetic field. And here we are having a pointer. Why? So that this pointer will deflect and we will know the value of the current. If this pointer points straight, if this pointer is pointing straight, what does that mean? It means that there is no current flowing through the circuit. But if this pointer is showing a value towards left or towards right of this midpoint, so what does this indicate? It indicates that there is some value of current which is flowing through this circuit. And this left and right direction of this galvanometer, this pointer shows that it shows nothing but the direction of flow of current. If the direction of flow of current is positive, it will show a deflection towards a particular direction, and if the direction of flow of current is towards right, then it will show a particular value of current towards the other direction. Now let us discuss some theory about this moving coil galvanometer. What happens when a particular amount of current is flowing through the coil? So as we know that current is flowing through the conductor, and we already know that there is some magnetic field due to the presence of magnets. So what happens that as we have discussed previously that when a conductor is kept in a uniform magnetic field carrying current, a torque is generated on that conductor. So similarly here on this on this coil carrying current, what happens is a torque is generated. So we already know the formula of torque. Tau is equal to NIBA sine theta. So we need some angle also. So what is this angle? This angle, as we know that magnetic field generated, it is radical to the surface. So radical means it is in the theta, or it is perpendicular to the surface. So theta becomes 90 degree. So we can say that sine 90 is 1. So we got what we got about torque. Torque becomes NIBA, where N is number of turns in the coil, I is current flowing through the circuit, and B is magnetic field that is provided, and A is area of the coil. And what does this magnetic torque does? This magnetic torque, it tends to rotate the coil as already discussed. And when this magnetic torque, it is rotating the coil, what happens? As we are using coil, the coil should also have some counter torque. So the spring, or I can say the coil, it provides a counter torque which is K phi. As we already know that force on any spring, it is equal to K phi. If I talk about a linear spring, so what is this K? It is a spring constant, and we know that this theta, it is deflection, or here we are talking about deflection, change in deflection. But if we talk about a linear spring, we use, instead of phi, we use kx. So formula becomes F is equal to kx, and we are having here minus sign. That was because of the opposite direction of the force. Okay, so similarly here we are having this K, we are having this K. So what does this K here means? It means toroidal constant. So what is this toroidal constant? It is a restoring torque which is provided per unit twist. So I can say that this force is equal to K phi. Now it is clear. So, and we also know that torque or force on that coil, it is equal to NIBA. So we can equate both these forces, because both the forces, they balance each other. This magnetic torque and this spring counter torque, they both balance each other. So we get this equation by equating both these forces. K phi is equal to NIBA. So from this equation we can get the value of phi, which is NAB divided by K, and in bracket we get I. Why we have kept this I aside? It is because this let us see from here, the value of N, which is number of turns in the coil, it must be constant. So we cannot change the number of turns in the coil. If we are having a particular coil, I can use another coil having different number of turns. So for a particular coil, number of turns, they will be constant. And area is also constant for the coil. And magnetic field, we are talking about uniform magnetic field, so it should also be a constant value. And about this toroidal constant, it is also a constant value. So this whole bracket, it is a constant term, and we are having this constant term. Only the value that is changing is current flowing through the coil. So what do I get? I get the value of deflection as NAB divided by K into I. Okay, now let us discuss some uses of galvanometer. So first of all, galvanometer, it can be used as an ammeter, and also a galvanometer can also be used as an voltmeter. So first of all, let us discuss the application of galvanometer as ammeter. So we have already discussed this application in previous chapters, where we have discussed this application of ammeter as galvanometer in an experiment known as Wheatstone-Bridge. In that experiment, we have used this galvanometer as an ammeter, as we have used this ammeter in parallel to the circuit, so that it can be used as an ammeter. So we cannot use this. This is a galvanometer device, and this is resistance, it is resistance of the galvanometer itself. So we cannot use this device as it is, as ammeter. Why? It is because this galvanometer, it is a very highly sensitive device and it gives full scale deflection even for a very small value of current. So what happens if I connect this galvanometer in series another with another device? What happens, as the resistance of this galvanometer is already very high, if I connect it with any other device, what happens, the value of current due to such high resistance, it will be affected, and we will not get the value of current like what it was previously. Before this device, what was the value of current, we are not getting the value of current now. Why? Due to the presence of such high resistance in the galvanometer itself. So what we want so what we can do to reduce the value of resistance and get the value of current as it was originally there, we want a normal value of current. So how can we reduce the value of resistance? Simply we can add a value of resistance, a value of very small resistance in parallel to the galvanometer. So what will it do? It will reduce the value of resistance. How? As we already know that when two resistances are connected in parallel, how do we get the value of equivalent resistance? It is by 1 upon R. This is equivalent resistance. It is equal to 1 upon Rg. This is resistance of the galvanometer plus 1 upon Rs, resistance in series. This resistance is very small, so we can also call it as shunt resistance. So how can we get the equivalent value? After solving it, R becomes equal to Rg into Rs upon Rg plus Rs. So this is the value of resistance that is the equivalent resistance of the circuit. So how can we use galvanometer as ammeter? Simply we can use a very small value of resistance, that is called shunt, in parallel to the galvanometer, and use this galvanometer as an ammeter. Now let us talk about current sensitivity. What is current sensitivity? Current sensitivity, it is defined as number of deflections per unit current. So as we already know the value of deflection, it was phi is equal to NAB divided by K into I. And now I want current number of deflections per unit current. So I can put this value of current simply here, and I get the value of current sensitivity. This becomes the value of current sensitivity, and this is shown by this bracket. Okay, this was all about current sensitivity. Now let us talk how can we use this device, galvanometer, as voltmeter. So in case of voltmeter, what do we want? We want to measure voltage. So what happens if I want to measure voltage? What I can do? I want minimum value of current, and I want a particular or a normal, I can say original value of voltage. So for that, what do I need to do? I want the current passing through my circuit, it should have a minimum value, and then I can measure the voltage across my circuit. So how can I do that? For doing that, what we can do is in this circuit, that is galvanometer, in this galvanometer, simply I can add a very large value of resistance in series with this device. So what happens, the value of resistance of the galvanometer was already high, and now the value of resistance that we have added, it is also we are adding very high resistance. So what happens, the resistance become very large, and hence we get a very low value of current, and hence now we can easily measure the value of voltage across the two ends. So now what is the equivalent resistance? When two resistances are connected in series, how we can get the equivalent resistance? We can get it by simply adding the two resistances. This is what I have done here. So resistance is equal to Rg plus R, and remind you that this resistance is very high value. Okay, now let me talk I have talked about current sensitivity, so there must be some voltage sensitivity. So let us discuss that. What is voltage sensitivity? It is defined as number of deflections per unit voltage. Like we already had the formula of deflection, number of deflections. From that formula, what we can do, we want deflection per unit voltage, so I can divide by voltage on both the sides. So, and we also know that V, voltage, is equal to current into resistance. So if I want the value of I divided by V, so simply I can get it by 1 by R. So in place of this I divided by V, I can write simply 1 by R. So the formula becomes number of deflections per unit voltage, it is equal to NAB divided by K into 1 by R. So now let us discuss, this was all about voltage sensitivity. Now let us discuss if there is any change on voltage sensitivity, if we make any change in the current sensitivity. So how can we see that? Let us suppose that number of turns in the coil. What was the formula for current sensitivity? First of all, let us write that phi is equal to NAB divided by K into I. For current sensitivity, we are having this I here. So this becomes the formula. So what we can say that if I increase number of turns by n to 2n, simply I am doubling the number of turns. So what happens, this phi divided by I, it becomes equal to, if I am putting n is equal to 2n, it becomes equal to twice n a b divided by k into I, k divided by I here. So this formula becomes this. So earlier it was NAB divided by K, but now it is 2NAB divided by I. What is this happening? Current sensitivity is simply doubling. So what we can say that if there is increase in number of turns, that is, if we are simply doubling the number of turns, what happens? The current sensitivity, it doubles, as we have seen here. Okay, now what happens on the voltage sensitivity if we double the number of turns? So if I am increasing number of turns, what happens? It basically means, it means that I am doubling the length of the coil. So if we are increasing the length of the coil, as we already know that resistance through a coil, it is directly proportional to the length of the wire. So if we are increasing number of turns, hence length, so resistance also increases. So if n is equal to 2n, resistance also becomes 2r. So what is happening? We are already having the formula for voltage sensitivity. In this formula, what do we do? If we put n is equal to 2n and r is equal to 2r, what do we get? Phi divided by v is equal to 2NAB divided by k into 1 upon 2r. So this 2 and 2, they get cancelled. So what do we get? We get NAB divided by k into 1 upon r. So this is the original thing. It was already what we had previously. So now we can see that in this and this, there is no change on voltage sensitivity if we have increased the number of turns. So what we have found that it might be, if we have changed current sensitivity, there might be change in the voltage sensitivity, and there might not be any change in the voltage sensitivity. Hence, what we can conclude? We can conclude by saying that modifications which are required for the conversion of a galvanometer into an ammeter, I can say they might be different or they might not be different from what are the requirements needed for conversion of any galvanometer into a voltmeter. Okay, that was all about moving coil galvanometer. So thank you. Other thing we will be discussing in the next class. Thank you.